I'm Dyanna Marie, and I'm here with Tah Groen as we go through this deep dive into human design.
Yes. Well, I'm so happy to be here with you, Dyanna. Wow, I'm like in the dark. What questions do you have for me? I love how candid it is. Like, I'm not prepared. I'm going with my beautiful sacral response. And that timing is perfect for me. That spontaneous sacral authenticity is what we're working on when we are sacral inner authority. And so I'm just in the dark. I'm going to be lit up or not, and you will see it in my face. You'll feel it in my frequency, and you as a projector will absolutely feel it in your open sacral, whether I'm lit up or whether that topic needs to or subject needs to shift, because that's what guiding is. You're the teacher and the guide as a projector, and you're guiding that sacral energy, which is my inner authority. Yeah. So, wow.
Yes, and I like what you said there, and that does lead me into my first question. When you said go with the spleen from authority, and because you said authentically from authority. And I've noticed right now, especially in social media, like we're in an age of people realizing authenticity is where our power is and where we need to move as a collective. So saying authentically in your authority, I hope reigns true with a lot of people, because you can be authentic but not in your power. You can be authentic. And that's what this is doing for me, is teaching and learning how to find my authoritative within myself, to command that power within myself. And having so many open centers is what I want to ask. You mentioned that it's vulnerability to have open centers. And I've even been told like that my vulnerability is why I'm special and all this stuff. Like people said, your vulnerability is why this speaks to me, where that's the cliche thing that I saw as my weakness, like being a nervous, vulnerable person. So what do you say about the open centers being more vulnerable and how to navigate that?
Right. First of all, when you said spleen, I'm like, why did she say spleen? And then I knew, oh, you're 2 steps ahead because you spoke your inner authority. Dyanna has a channel that wants to lead or is 2 steps ahead. I'm like, oh, she's already 2 steps ahead on her splenic inner authority. Because at first I'm like, did you mean sacral? No, you jumped right to your inner authority, which is splenic, which is completely different than mine. And so your authenticity comes from that definition. And it's easy to be that. It's easy to be that when we feel the energy in the body. So do you just want to recap your inner authority before I talk about your vulnerability?
Yes. So mine is the splenic, which means I need to lead from pure instinct. I'm not really supposed to overly think things. I'm not really supposed to weigh options. I'm supposed to listen to that very, very, very subtle, like God clue of this is what you got to do. And even it is like, it can be a nudge, but it's like a blank nudge. It's like somebody pushing you, go, okay, but where? So there's so much of like silencing and listening that is involved in that. But then I have so many open centers. There's so much swirling, especially that open throat, which we wanted to touch on again.
Yeah.
There's so much open. So listening to that splenic authority is its own like spiritual challenge and pilgrimage. It feels like in its own, because I feel like once I master that, as much as one can ever master the self, there will be a huge shift. That is for sure.
Wow, your words are so beautiful. Your words are so beautiful. That is just epic, the way you described your splenic inner authority. That whisper, that God whisper, that quiet space, and then there's a hit, and what are you supposed to do with that? Like, why? Because you're not having to do anything over time, like the other side, which is emotional. If your solar plex emotional, everything is over time, no truth in the now. So it's absolutely opposite of an emotional being, a solar plex defined. So I know we'll get to your open centers, but I'm curious, do you have anybody in your family who is solar plex defined, emotionally defined?
Mm, I don't think so. I could check. I have their charts. I can go through
Okay, yeah,
and search as we
yeah,
talk because I
okay,
definitely know all their overall types, but their authorities are something I haven't thought to put to memory. That's for one thing. I've
yeah,
memorized a
okay,
lot of their subsets like martyr, investigator, and all
right,
the different types like that. But
right.
that is good to know
So,
because I bet it matters when you're interacting with them,
oh,
what
right,
their
because
authority
you're
is.
right, because you're spontaneous and the emotional being is not. They need a lot of time. They need a lot of transition time. So you're getting a splenic hit that says, I need to do this now. And if I don't listen, I'm going to miss it. And we got to jump. And then that daughter, maybe who's solar plex or
Emotional.
son,
My daughter,
emotional,
emotional, the one we already
is
talked about in our first podcast. Yeah, makes
she's
sense.
emotional?
Yeah, emotional authority.
Yes.
And yeah, you mentioned even just being a manifesting generator to give her more time, but that means even
Yeah.
more time.
More time. Yeah, more and more time because you're spontaneous and you'll miss it if you don't listen. And then she can't get up to speed unless she does sample it over time. So, as a
Yes.
mother, the rule of thumb would be, uh, gosh, patience for you,
I've
right? Uh,
apologized to her because I know even before I got into this, I knew I was a Sagittarius and we're fire, 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 right? So I knew mommy moves very fast and I apologize.
yeah, there you go. So that communication, right? Uh, oh gosh, there's so much to the dynamics there though. As a projector, you're taking in her sacral energy as a manifesting generator. So you already can sense whether she is being frustrated by going too fast. So you automatically have the feelers out and are ultra sensitive to her generative force. So that's a beautiful thing. So it's meant to be this sensitivity of being a projector, um, for her as a manifesting generator, solar plex authority, which is emotional. Yeah, it's helpful being a projector.
Yes. Yeah. And I can see my husband here is sacral. That's what you are too, as well, correct? As your authority?
Right. So my sacral, right when we were speaking at the beginning, I'm like, oh, cool. Let's see how my sacral lights up. Like not trying to have a preconceived agenda of what my sacral's going to light up with, because it's in the moment as well, but it's more about a steady sound. So sacral's buzz is yeah, let's go there, or the underlying no is it's this deep. So it's all about frequency and vibration. So
I've
you
noticed that with my husband. I've learned over our many years together that he'll say fine, but if I listen to the tone of fine versus, oh yeah, like there's a difference. And if I honor that, be like, you don't actually want to do it. And we do a lot better because he can think just as fast. When we're out doing plans, we're very go, go, go with the kids and traveling. Me and him will be like, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. And Abigail will be in the back just spinning, going, but I want to do the first thing we talked about. And she just like can't let it go. Meanwhile, him and I were like, we're sorry, you're very spontaneous parents.
Yes, yeah. So imagine how challenging that is for an emotional being to have to stay up to speed with the parents that are so fast, and you have no control. You have no control. You just have to honor and go with that. So that's why this knowledge is so valuable, because then you can realize what that emotional being needs. Just maybe 2 minutes, 5 minutes. We're gonna be transition time
Yes.
in a half hour, depending on how old they are, or 5 minutes. For that 3-year-old, you can
One
say,
thing I'd
oh,
say
in
to her,
five.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Oh,
for a
one
3-year-old, it's 5 minutes, and for my 14-year-old, it may even be like 2 days.
Oh, to think, yeah,
Yeah,
Abigail would like
mhm,
that. That's mine.
yeah.
She's 8.
So
What we try
yeah,
to do is get her to trust us. And I know, like, I know our plans might change, but we're still having fun. We make sure we, like, can you trust mommy and daddy are going to make sure you have fun? This is going to be a good day. We're just trying to make a plan that formulates the best good day. And that's all we're doing here. And we like, I understand you want this, but because our one son's autistic, so we have to always factor that in. And we'll be like, let's do this. But no, it won't work for Andrew. He's the other projector.
Wow.
And then we have to change the plans. And she's always having it. We're like, we're so sorry, sweetie. And she's the oldest, and her other brother just turned 4. So he's a toddler, and we have to, roll out the red carpet, and a manifester too. So really knows what he
Wow.
wants.
Well, we'll have to, because I'm already like, whoa, I need to see these charts to all lined up. So maybe one show will just bring in the children's charts and look at how they all interact. Yeah.
Yes.
With you as parents. But back on track, you asked about the vulnerability of your openness. So let's look. I'll share my screen, and we'll look at your open spaces and compare them to my defined spaces, which are a lot. This is me. Look at how defined I am.
Yes, my husband's that defined, all but 2.
Yeah, yeah. Dyanna, do you want to explain to our viewers a little bit on what, because I know you do this so well, and it might be great for you to review how, and then I can pop in if there's anything that's askew. But can you describe the difference between what the open white is versus the color? That's 101.
Yes, and this I get multiple answers on, so I would love some clarity. So I'll tell you where my thoughts are. And that is that one is open, so being vulnerable makes sense. And you can see that in personalities. The more open one is, going to the reflector that has all open signs. And then I've even heard that they're trying to make a subtype like manifesting generator of projector reflector, but they're saying that doesn't count because the projector's so specific on what they need to be doing. And the reflector has their own job. But basically, and then they say the reflector can be a complete chameleon if they need to be, because they are so open. So that's almost lacking, without an insult here, a sense of self. And I can vouch this. I think I only have 3 defined centers, and I'm very open in my personality, open in my own opinions. I can argue with myself, not that I'm argumentative, but I can literally have conflicting thoughts. And that goes into that openness, where when you're a defined person, I've noticed people are more sure of themselves, more, I don't want to say trustworthy, but let's just say less wishy-washy, more, and again, this sounds insulting to opens, but more dependable, because when they think something, it's more likely to stay true. Somebody more open can think one thing, but because it's open, it can flow in and flow out quicker. Where when you're more defined, it just is what it is more.
Oh
Now
my
that's
gosh.
very, what do you
Okay.
think on that?
Oh my gosh. Well, this is a perfect example of the game telephone. And how the original teachings of Ra are getting so incredibly diluted with all of this concepts that aren't necessarily part of human design. Okay. Let's start from the beginning. The one, where was it? Oh, that projectors, where the concept of adding new types, that's like tripping me up. Who's talking about adding new types? What, that there's now a projector who's going to be called a reflector? Is that what you said?
Yes, yes. I found this one channel, the Problematic Projector, and she does this amazing job of compiling other people's information. So we're talking tons of podcasts, YouTubers, just a flood, because I haven't seen it all just brought at me like that. Because, you read books, that's one person's opinion. You take a course, that's one person's opinion. But she has taken this entire community of human design and puts together all their opinions back to back to back to show you what all these different ones are saying, because I myself hadn't heard this. But she had this compilation of all these people talking about this. And I was like, oh, She disagreed with it as well, though. She came back to say, no, that's not a thing. Projectors can't be
Okay.
like that, because she also sticks to the Ra teachings and
Okay.
quotes what Ra says himself. So she would agree with you, but she was showing this compilation of all these
Okay, I
other
love
people
it.
that are going down the road, and some are, they're creating almost like their own egregore, if you know the term, their own collective
Yeah.
consciousness within human design,
Yeah.
where it's like, I think it should be a tool, a map, but not a, like, you live your life within it, where that's like who you are completely.
It gets
So
too
take it back over.
convoluted and complex
Mhm.
when really it's actually incredibly simple. So simple. So a
Yes.
projector is a projector because of waiting for the invitation, because of the aura being penetrating and focused. Okay. So they cannot be a reflector, because a reflector's aura is sampling. Their aura is actually more like Teflon than anything. They are their true identity. They are absolutely strong. They are a mirror or a barometer for society, yes, but their aura is like Teflon. Like, you cannot penetrate that. This is their aura. What they see or what experienced as a mirror is the other person is experiencing themselves as a mirror. So their patterns are amplified. You get in front of a beautiful reflector, and that is an incredible gift, because your patterns of fragmentation of true self are going to be huge. They're going to be big. You're mirroring. They allow you to amplify your discord or your not self. Does that make sense? But that doesn't mean that they're going to be penetrated by that. They're still Teflon.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know that. So that's
Yeah,
actually, so
that's
that
it. It's,
actually, keep going. Sorry.
yeah. So that is. Doesn't that make sense? They have all this vulnerability of open centers, yet they still truly know if they're living that of sampling over the moon cycle, they figure out what they like by just testing this, testing that over a long period of time, and then they get their direction by not necessarily jumping too soon. Talk about over time. They have to do their big decision making over a 30-day period.
Yes.
Isn't that
Yes.
wild?
That's, yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen that. And that's, I'm glad I'm not that type. I'd rather have to deal with but that might be why I think that, because I'm so used to that versus having to think about it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you're gonna have we have to love who we are. I mean, I love who I am. You love your spontaneous splenic, because that's what you can rely on. That's what's your true self. So of course the reflector is gonna just, that's who they are. They're this is the art of loving ourselves, when we when we see our design and embrace and remember. It's like remembering who we are. Yeah. All right. So that was the one. So the projector becoming a reflector. Yeah. And then what was the other one? The other one was something to do with
This time, my little manifestor is trying to dictate what I do.
oh, that's it. Yep. Manifestors are so great. They yeah, we'll have to
Yes,
do
I'm
a
grateful to
manifest.
have him. I plan for us to do big things when he's older.
Yeah, he'll initiate. He'll initiate. All right, so yeah, so that openness is where we go to school. So you're going to school through your head, your ajna, your throat. We talked about in the last show your throat and how it's a muse for amplifying all voices. There are themes. You have two themes in the throat, gate 12 and gate 31, which is influence, the gate of influence. And then that open emotions, where you're taking in solar plex from your daughter, her emotional wave. And then my sacral and your husband's sacral going right in, and your daughter too, obviously, but it's not her inner authority. Her inner authority is emotional. And That's quite different from my and your husband's spontaneous sacral hits.
Oh,
And then
yes.
your open root, which is as well, I have open root. So the two centers that I have in common with you are open root and the open emotions. And that's why before we started today, I said, we need our little Post-it that says, slow the down.
Yes, it is so true. And a part of me, and that's fear tactics, but a part of me is like, if I don't quickly say this now, I will forget, because that is how my brain, that's part of the open brain. But if I don't get it out now, the winds of change will come and I'll be on to something else.
Right. Your splenic hit. You're like, I got the hit. I got the hit. So writing it down, like, oh, I want to mention this or something, hold on 1 second. Yeah. Hold on 1 second. There it is. All right. So this is great for anybody who has open centers. We'll go from the top. Thinking about things that don't matter, wanting to solve other people's problems, that infinite intelligence coming in. The pressure to solve and get things, the pressure to solve other people's problems and the pressure to solve your problems, right? But that's not where your inner authority comes. So imagine the mind just speaking and pulling you off of that splenic hit that you just got. Your spleen said, oh no, I'm not supposed to be right here right now. But your mind's going, but I got to solve this problem. There's something,
I know. I feel like Nikola Tesla, like a mad scientist of how to cure the world. But it's like, it's not aligning perfectly yet. You know what I mean?
Right. So it's that trust, surrender. This is your channel, right? This channel of surrender. So of course, this is perfect for you. So we're going to
I've
surrender into
continuously
the
gotten that
spleen.
message too.
Yeah, the surrender into the splenic hit, so that the will to be first can happen, because you're right on it. Once this true alignment happens to your true identity, all of this other stuff is fluff. You don't listen. You don't get fragmented towards that solving other people's problems, because they're not yours to solve. Okay? When you are in your truth, this channel right here, this will heal humanity. This channel of initiation, a design of needing to be first. It is wanting all of the best for us as humans. It's that innocence that moves us to shock. So it's jumping the void and becoming in. We'll have to explore each of these channels on a deeper level, but there's so much.
There is so much there. I didn't mean.
Yeah.
I hope
No,
it's
you're right.
aligned.
There's so much in one channel.
Yes, and it
So,
helped give me, how the projector needs permission, as I'm not asking for permission, but the projector needs permission. But that right there gave me the initiative and almost the cosmic permission to push a little harder into, especially like my twittering, like I tweet out advice. And I used to not do that. I just started doing it, even though I had the account for years, because of that channel, of having to be first, because I was waiting for somebody else to do it first, so I could feel comfortable, so I could feel like I didn't want to be first. I wanted to help, but I didn't want to be first until I read that. And I am the oldest child, and I've always liked that. I have a bunch of siblings that I took care of. I always liked that I got to do it first, even though it was harder for me. But there was something in me that has always liked that. But then in the spiritual world, it combined, and I'm like, okay, I'm first. And it gave me that permission to be like, I'm
gave
first.
you that permission.
I'm a pioneer.
To remember who you are, and to trust that this is a powerful leading us into the future, with the surrendering to what we need. Those are all keynotes for you. Knowing what the tribe needs and wanting to deliver it first. Okay, so this is where your spleen, you surrender into that. And so when you get that hit to make a tweet, go for it. That's who you are. It's not, it's not the mind, the busyness in the mind, thinking about all of those possibilities. You let that pressure go away, and then moving down into the ajna, you know that you're not going to be certain about things. That you don't have to be certain that every time you get an idea, you have to tweet it. I mean, that would be coming from the mind. Oh, now I know I'm gonna corral this idea, and I'm gonna make it feel safe for myself. And so every time that I want that I have an idea, I am now certain that I'm gonna go tweet it. No, you don't know if you're certain that you're gonna do that until your spleen lets you know, right?
It's
So it's an
so
example.
true.
So it's an example of not giving yourself a rule or I've always done it this way. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a big time following however it feels right now, and fighting that urge to, especially the human brain. I don't know if this is my open brain or just humanity, but the need to make everything a habit, to be like, but this is what I always do. I've always gone with that with my channel, because they say to be successful, you need to always have the same routine, but that doesn't flow with my energy. My energy
No.
flows doing whatever it feels like doing in that moment. And that's just the way it
Yeah.
works, but that doesn't work for the algorithm.
Yeah. Society is changing. We are all realizing that those aspects of the conditioned goal setting and habits and schedules and the perceived control that we put on our will is not serving us in any capacity. It's creating frustration and stuckness in the generators. It's creating projectors who are taking invitations that are not correct for them, and they're getting bitter and rejected. Manifestors are overworking themselves and not understanding that they have a rest cycle, and that it's important to stop occasionally when their energy is done. Yeah, and then these goals and habits, it's like you're gonna have to throw them out the window because they're not serving our energy correctly. Yeah, okay, I love brushing my teeth, yes, and I do put my supplements or my patches on, and I love making dinner at the right time, all those things, but they seem to flow, right?
Because I found when you're honoring the body, you can help if you don't make it, this is the schedule, this is when I have to do it, but especially those things of just honoring the body, they flow better. I found when I just
Yeah.
almost relabel it.
Yeah, exactly. Not so rigid. Okay, so those are the vulnerability, the pressure and the pressure sandwich of the head and the ajna, and then that's the other end of the sandwich of pressure, incredible pressure, is this root center. It's in one of the strongest motors in our chart, or in our body, that it goes straight to the body. The splenic side is our fuels our body, and then it fuels the emotions. So imagine amplifying all of that. You're amplifying the streams to the emotional body, and you're amplifying the streams to the physical body. That is like blows circuits. It's so vibrationally uncomfortable. So yeah, go ahead and share your experience of that open.
So you're saying, okay, I want that. I love that. Can you elaborate on that? So because the center is open, it's sending signals up more than if it was defined.
So this is like a circuit board, and the open root is waiting for a plug-in from somebody else. Okay, so how does that get impacted? It gets impacted by somebody who has the whole stream. Okay, either the channel of correction, the channel of struggle, the channel for drive. So think about that: the drive, the struggle, and to correct or judge. Imagine that coming into your body, and how that gets amplified. And there's no, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. There's no like okay, that's just a little judgment. No, it gets like big judgment, big correction. And you're like, oh, help me, what is going on? We're amplifying the other person who's judging themselves or judging us. Does that
Yes.
make sense?
That is spot on.
Yeah. And so then you go to each one of these channels, and that's what we're amplifying. That kind of fuel that is so strong. It's fueling emotions and it's fueling our body. And it's a pressure that is beyond belief. It's adrenal pressure. It's fight or flight. It's ambitious. It's like, hurry. We're going to just I want to clear this out. And then what about the opposite of that? The quiet, the soft, sweet stillness. We have access to that. We have access to that. Quiet, calm. And that's what I love. Don't
Oh,
you?
I thought that was an empath thing because I do reach like that God spark thing like that if I want, which other people don't seem to understand. So I realized it
Right.
was a unique thing. I was like, oh, just find it. You'll get there easily. And some people are like, well, I have to meditate for half an hour to get there. And I'm like, I can, given the right breathing, hit it like that if I wanted
Right.
to. I thought
Right.
it was
You
an
have
empath thing.
power. You have power. You have willpower to the body. You can will that body to do whatever you want. That's who you are. And you have the identity to do it. So of course that makes sense. Because we are all unique. We are all so different. We all need so many different there's not one size fits all.
Yeah, a
Never.
deep
That's the
dive.
whole point about human design. It is the
Yes.
art of differentiation. You are your own uniqueness.
Yes, and this is what I found when learn like seeing the focus groups of all these people teaching it. They're just going projector this and manifestor generator that. When for me, and I would call myself a novice, I saw right away looking into the maps that look how deep this is. Look at the channels, look at the numbers, and there's over 1,000, if not more, different combinations that everybody you
Right.
would know
Right.
probably better. The higher it's a
So
huge
yeah,
number.
so it's 1080 variations per gate. So this gate 11 has 1080 variations
In
because
just one
of
gate.
in one gate, because of the
Yeah.
line, because of the color, because of the tone, and because of the bass. So that's why, I'm getting a hit. That's why this knowledge needs to not be diluted, because it is so mathematically correct. Do you see that?
Yes. Yeah, and they say the
And
universe is numbers too.
yeah,
And
so
this
this
is
is
good to
math.
see that in
Yeah, yeah.
reality.
And the words are all resonant of frequency. These are very specific words. Even though sometimes they don't make sense on a cognitive level, the choices of words have frequency and vibration. Okay? So when people
That's
say
what
this
one of the
isn't
things I
right,
teach people,
yeah.
yes.
When they're,
Huge.
I don't like what Ross said, or I don't like that word, or I'm like, you guys, it's way beyond the word.
It's
It's
so true.
way beyond the word. Okay. So do not throw the bath out with the bathwater, or however that goes.
The baby
Yeah.
out with the bathwater? Yes.
Bathwater. Thank you.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yeah, I know what you mean. And it almost just showed that, like, and I see this in other, because I kind of stay out of overall spiritual communities for that reason, because it doesn't matter which one you get into, they become dogmatic inside them as well. And it's like, you guys are still humaning. You're learning
yeah.
good stuff, but you're still doing the polarity, duality, human
Yeah.
thing. You're
Yeah.
repressing, you're subjugating. No,
Yeah.
we're learning. We're
That's exactly
expanding.
right, Diana. That's exactly right. It's the polar. It's this, and that. When really, it's all of it. It's the whole stick. That's why when we look at these gates, there is this high end and this low end, because you have one end of the stick and then you have the other end of the stick, and that's everything in between. Right? There's not a good or bad. We don't say that the detriment is bad. No, because that detriment can serve you in the chart. It will serve you. This influence on the detriment has such a high frequency because it's serving all the other aspects here. Does that make sense? It's
100%.
a genetic continuity. It works together. No good or bad. That's why when we say wishy-washy open, no, this is
That's why I
power.
try to I struggle with the terms. That's why
Yeah.
I'm glad I want to grow my vernacular in
Yeah.
this too, to be able
It's
to
not
say it.
wishy-washy.
Like even last
It's
time I said good or
amplifying.
bad, but like
Yeah.
I don't
And
mean it like that. It's just a
yeah.
way to.
So to try to broaden the way we
Yes.
articulate human design so that it doesn't continue to be good or bad, because it's not. It's all embracing the detriment matches. All look, we will have to explore your detriments and see how they serve you. You know, these are hot spots. One,
Yes.
two, three, 4, 5, 6 detriments. You know, those are interesting to explore. We'll have to do that for you. My detriment is right 70% of who I am, so I experience this quite often, and we'll have to explore why that is my positive as well. Oh, my eternal optimist, you know, because this has really given me like a crazy. So I have
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 detriments. So can you see how broad human design is and how
Oh yeah.
beautiful? It's like so incredibly powerful, and that's why getting a human design reading from somebody who knows, me,
Yeah.
in
No, for sure.
2006, I've embodied the frequencies and the circuit board. So we were speaking about that circuit board and how that root center is just pressure, adrenal pressure. You feel it as this vibration in the body. Yeah. Do you
Yes.
experience that?
I have literally experienced that. Like, it's funny, and he turned out to be a projector too in my learning. But Woody Allen, like the old actor from the 70s and the 80s, and his nervousness, but he's very smart. But he's all like, "Oh no, that's gonna kill me. Oh no, oh no." That's who I used to be pre-awakening. I was Woody
Wow.
Allen, literally almost
Wow.
identical. Where I was smart and I wasn't a bad person or anything, but I was very stuck in oh no, and my
Wow.
life was boxed in because of it. But then I
Right.
started
And
awakening and it just started opening up. But I think that
right.
feeling, that visceral fight or flight as an actual shaking like a rocket. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
So let me share with you where else that comes from. Your 70. Remember, I was looking at my 45 over here because these are the hottest spots. This sun design. This is a hot, hot, hot spot for us. So look where your 6 line is. 6. Where is it? Do you
Yeah.
remember what
In
that
the
center is? The emotional
emotions.
center. Yes.
Yeah.
So you're so that that's an incredible motor as well. So the emotional wave was getting amplified too with the anxiety or the anxiousness of that six line. That's where
Yes.
that came from as well. Gate of friction,
Yeah. And it's
fundamental
positive too.
design.
Even if I get really good happy news, and I'm better at handling it now, but the energy's still there. I'm just better at dissipating and
Yeah.
integrating. Where even before, if someone told me really good news, I'd be like, oh God, oh God.
Yeah, yeah. So that's 70% of who she is right there in that open emotional center. So and she has a capacity to hold that. That's why that's there. You are able to be the first one in the crisis to be calm. That's kind of what it is. I'm going to be the first one to get us out of this crisis, and I'm going to be able to handle the bandwidth of all the emotional frequency. That's kind of what that's saying.
So
The
I should
power.
be able to handle it. Like it's good. Like taking it is helps.
Right, because you're experiencing uh, a wisdom center. This is anything open is where we gain our wisdom. So you have this absolute fascinating 70% of who you are is accessing and amplifying the entire emotional wave of our planet. Okay.
Nice. That
So
that's
what
that. And
does that do?
you have that
Yes.
too,
So
don't you?
not as high as this. No, I am not 70% open emotions
How
like
do you know
this
it's 70%? Just for anybody
because
wanting to look at their own chart. Where are you
okay,
seeing that it's
excellent question. Excellent question. Anything in your profile, sun and your earth, that's 70% of your impact or your imprint, or you're on this case, it's a dormant gate, hanging dormant gate on an open center, which is incredibly difficult. So your 70% of who you are is getting impacted by all the emotional waves on the planet. You're amplifying that. So no wonder why you were running around like Woody Allen, You're like, what? Oh, what? Oh, it's that.
But I've noticed if I can stay calm, I can take an entire angry room without saying a word, and poof, they're happy.
Wow. See, that's the wisdom of processing this. So then back to what I said, you're the first one to be able to handle the crisis in the room. Okay? So you're that able to really initiate what we need to do in this time of crisis. And oh my gosh, you're doing it right now. You are initiating this knowledge out into the world so that people can understand their energy, so that they
Yes,
can
I'm always
know.
concerned with that.
Yeah.
Like
So
when you're
that they can
talking,
know
I can
themselves.
almost hear their questions, and I want to break
Yeah.
it down for them, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Cool. So that is fascinating. I want to see our faces now, so I'm going to stop sharing. And I have about 5 minutes before a reading a new client. I'm so excited. I have a new client that I am working with. That's what I do. We work together and we start recognizing frequencies and honoring the aura. And deconditioning, we call it deconditioning, to see where.
How close does that, would you say, relates with life coaching? And now I'm a minister, but it's basically still life coaching, just with the divinity behind it. But I find out what they're looking for, and then I find out what are they, and I use human design and astrology, and then you narrow it in based on that with them to heal them. But nothing's better than human design. And how does, for that I found, for people that think otherwise, what I have found personally. So your expertise in human design, I feel like would offer the deepest of wisdom for anybody looking for it. And how do you navigate that with them from the get-go?
So, right, remember the 1,080 differentiated one gate? It's so unique to each individual. Like for you, we just discovered your superpower, right? The the dormant gate hanging on an open emotional center. And then we can go into the nuances of that, and you would recognize it. And then we would go into the real life and see where it's showing up, and see if the not self is avoiding confrontation and truth because of that. Avoiding confrontation and truth. Are you speaking your truth enough so that you can really be connected to the definition of who you are, the true self of who you are? Or are you letting that hot spot of those dormant 6th gate and 36th gate pull you off of your truth because of the fear of being impacted by emotions that aren't going to be comfortable in your body? I mean, that's how we work. It's very specific to you.
Yes.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, and that's why I love human design the most. It's funny because remember when we did our first podcast, I was taking a course in it, but you were like, no, that, because I told you the course was only like this little thing. It was supposed to take me 6 hours. I didn't bother finishing it after you said that, because you're like, no, I went to school for 2 years. And it was like deeply, I'm like, oh, because I was even newer back then. I was like, I didn't know, because here I was learning, and it's true. It was all this surface stuff. It wasn't teaching it's just the deepest thing. And I feel like one day, if the world keeps progressing in the way I hope it does, and I shall project it forward, that instead of or as well as a school counselor, you'll have a human design school counselor that'll be like, well, Stacy, your homework, if you were to follow your 26th channel, you know what I mean? And and just with absolutely everything, HR will be human design people that work there. Like, they will be the people that are there anytime there's conflict. Have a human design expert, because then we can look at the charts and I don't want to say political figures and get booed at, but Steve, you're arguing with Stacy because you know, and you
She's
could
not
really,
being recognized. You're not honoring her skills and her talents. Just recognize her, appreciate her, and honor her skills and her talents, and she's going to be, you know, it will transform,
exactly.
because that's what
Yes.
projectors want to hear. So
Because you
it's
would
called
see,
language.
you could see why A is
Yeah,
happening to B and why
yeah,
B is receiving A from A and sending
yeah,
back, you know, like the
yeah,
whole arguments between people would be
yeah,
figured out
yeah,
completely. There wouldn't
absolutely.
be conflict
Yeah.
anymore, really, if we were to do this properly.
Right, absolutely, when we honor our true self, because the energy flows. The I say this in my yoga class, the biggest philanthropy that we can do is to love ourselves and to really hone this frequency that we have, the consciousness that we have, the spirit consciousness that we have. And then whoever we come in contact with, that transforms them as well. That mean person is no longer a mean person. You get what your frequency attracts, right? We've talked about this, multidimensional. So which dimension do we want to be on? We want to be on the dimension that's connected to our highest, truest, positive
The
self.
kingdom of heaven. Yes.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
100%. Yeah. So thank you so much. I hope the whole world is seeing the value that this can do. And I hope
This is so
this
good.
raw display of people, and we could dive into the deepest of my flaws that you see in the chart, and I just spill it open and show people like the depths you can find within.
I love it. I love it.
But,
So we're still correcting your language. I don't
oh,
mean to, as a generator, guide my projector, but the detriments, we're calling them detriments, not flaws. And
oh
I
yes,
don't think detriment is a bad word. I think detriment in your case are the most incredible gifts to really hone in your power of those two channels that you have, being first and knowing the body. So they're not flaws. Right.
I believe it.
Right. Yeah,
100%.
I just want to, we're just so soft. We're so
Yes,
soft and
no,
loving.
teach me. My mind is open for teaching.
I love you so much. Oh
I appreciate you.
gosh,
Thank you
it's
so
so
much. I
good.
love this.
Yeah. All right, wonderful. Until next time.